Okay, so I want you to picture the ultimate safe harbor, not, a bunker or a fortress, but a life.
Hmm.
Picture a quiet street in Evans, Colorado. It's the kind of place where the lawns are manicured, the neighbors all wave.
Right, the kind of place where the biggest scandal is supposed to be about, like, property lines.
Exactly. It feels insulated.
It is. It's that quintessential image of the American middle class. It's structured, it's predictable. And I think that predictability is what makes us feel safe. We rely on those patterns.
And today's deep dive is all about what happens when that pattern is, well, essentially a stage set. We're looking at the case of Ashley and Adam Fallis.
And on the surface, you couldn't cast a better couple for this setting.
No. Ashley is 31. She's a kindergarten teacher. The sources describe her as that kind of mom who is just deeply involved, very nurturing, the bedrock of her family.
And then you have Adam Fallis. He's not just her husband. He's her counterpart in the professional world. He's a school administrator.
That's a role that carries a lot of weight in a community like this.
A ton of weight.
Hmm.
People trust educators.
Right.
They trust the people in charge of their kids' safety.
Which makes the twist in the story so jarring. We aren't just looking at a tragedy, we're looking at a carefully constructed lie that nearly worked, all because of who was telling it.
Hmm.
This is the story of how Ashley Fallis was murdered, and how her husband almost got away with it by calling it a suicide.
It's a terrifying prospect. I mean, we talk about closed-door crimes all the time, but this one is specific. It's about how a narrative, a story told by a survivor, can compete with forensic science.
And for a while, the story was winning.
It really was.
So that's our mission today. We are going to unpack the investigation notes, the forensic reports, and the trial transcripts to figure out how you dismantle a lie that big.
We have to understand how the physics of the scene eventually overpowered the reputation of the suspect.
And we should probably warn you, this does get a little technical.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be looking at ballistics, trajectory, digital forensics. Because this case, the devil really was in the details.
So let's start with that facade before it cracked. You mentioned Adam was an administrator, Ashley a teacher. They seem to be climbing the ladder.
By all accounts. But looking at the background interviews from friends and family, that happy couple image, it was already gone by late 2016.
Completely gone.
Utterly gone. The investigation revealed that the foundation had, well, it had rotted away. Ashley had discovered that Adam was having an affair.
And this wasn't just a rough patch.
No, this was an existential threat to their whole setup.
I think people really underestimate how dangerous that kind of exposure is in a tight-knit professional circle. I mean, if you're a high-ranking school official, an affair isn't just a personal problem.
No, it's professional poison.
Yeah.
That's a crucial point. In the education sector, moral standing is basically part of the job description.
Right.
So if Ashley exposes this, Adam isn't just looking at sleeping on the couch. He's looking at a potential morals clause violation, a huge hit to his reputation, and, a massive financial blow in divorce court.
So the stakes are incredibly high. It's January 9, 2017. They're at home. There's a New Year's party just days behind them, but the tension is just boiling over. What do we know about the timeline that night?
We know there was an argument. Adam admits to this part. He claims Ashley confronted him about the affair. Again. But here is where he starts building his suicide narrative.
Okay.
He told police that Ashley became distraught.
Distraught. I see that word in the police reports, and it feels so strategic. It's a way of stripping her of credibility, right? It paints her as irrational.
It absolutely does. It frames her state of mind for the officers before they even see the body. He claims she was erratic, that she was yelling, and that she eventually stormed into their bedroom and locked the door.
And his version of what happens next is, well, it's cinematic.
It is. He claims he's outside the bedroom pleading with her. He hears a gunshot. He says he had to forcefully break down the door to get to her, but he was too late.
He finds her dead.
From a gunshot wound to the head, yes.
And here's the thing that just blows my mind. The police arrive. They see a dead woman, a gun, a husband. And initially, they accept his story.
It's frustrating to read, but yes. This is where that trust element we talked about kicks in. You have a grieving husband who's a respectable school administrator, and he's telling this coherent, tragic story.
So it triggers confirmation bias.
Totally. The responding officers saw what they were primed to see, a suicide. They didn't treat it as a homicide scene immediately.
Not with the rigor you'd expect.
Not at all. They allowed the narrative to guide the initial walkthrough.
But, and this is a big but, evidence is stubborn. Even if the initial officers were swayed, the objects in that room didn't care about Adam's reputation.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the weapon. This seems to be the linchpin of the whole impossible suicide theory.
The weapon is the first major red flag. It wasn't a handgun. It was a rifle.
Okay, so lay out the physics for us.
Yeah.
Ashley is described as a petite woman. A rifle is, what, 3 feet long?
Depending on the model, yeah. It's a long-barreled weapon. Now, think about the mechanics of shooting yourself in the head with a rifle.
It seems awkward.
It's more than awkward. You have to position the muzzle against your body. But the trigger is way down the stock, so your arms have to bridge that gap.
You're fighting geometry.
You are. For a person of Ashley's size to reach the trigger while holding the barrel to her head, she'd have to hyperextend her arms or use something else to push the trigger, like a stick or even a toe.
And was there anything like that found at the scene?
Nothing. No stick, no tool. So we are left with this idea that she somehow contorted her body in a physically improbable way to make this shot.
And didn't the angle of the bullet track weirdly too?
It did. The trajectory analysis showed the bullet entered at an angle that would be incredibly difficult to achieve self-inflicted, especially with that gun. It's like trying to scratch the middle of your back with a yardstick while holding the very end of it. It's just not how bodies move.
But Adam stuck to his story.
Sure.
She did it. She pulled the trigger. So let's look at the chemistry. Gunshot residue.
GSR.
Right. We hear about it in every crime drama, but what is it actually telling us in a case with a rifle?
So when a cartridge fires, it's a miniature explosion. It expels this cloud of heavy metals, lead, barium, antimony.
Okay.
If you're firing a handgun, your hands are right there at the epicenter. With a rifle, your hands are on the stock and the barrel. You are practically hugging the weapon.
So if she fired it, she should be covered in this stuff.
She should have significant concentrations on her hands or arms, but the lab results came back with little to no gunshot residue on Ashley.
Little to no. That sounds like a polite way of saying none.
Effectively, yes.
Oh, right.
It suggests her hands were not in the immediate vicinity of the weapon when it discharged.
That feels like the checkmate moment right there. You have a gun she can't reach, fired at an impossible angle, and her hands are clean.
It's the silence of the evidence speaking volumes. If she'd fired that gun, the physics would have left a mark. The lack of that mark is damning.
So the physical act doesn't match Adam's story. But let's go back to his timeline. The locked door. He made a big deal about breaking it down. That creates a barrier between him and the death. I couldn't have done it. I was locked out.
It's a classic alibi tactic. It sets a specific stage that is the helpless witness. But if you kick in a door that is actually locked, physics happens again.
Wood splinters, the jam cracks.
Exactly. The strike plate bends, you see damage.
And let me guess. The door looked fine.
Investigators found no convincing evidence of forced entry.
So he just walked in, or was already in there.
Forensic evidence strongly suggests the door was never locked. The breaking down the door was just theater. A detail added to sell the desperation of the moment, but it's a detail that just falls apart under a microscope.
It's like he wrote a screenplay but forgot about the set design.
That's a good way to put it.
But there's another layer here. We've talked about the physical world, but what about the digital one? Adam said she was distraught and impulsive.
Right. The claim was this was a snap decision born of grief. But when investigators pulled the data from Ashley's phone and computer, they found a very different mindset.
What was she looking at?
She wasn't searching for suicide methods. She wasn't writing goodbye notes.
No.
She was researching divorce attorneys. She was looking up child custody laws. She was looking at financial planning.
That is the complete opposite of checking out. That is planning for survival.
Exactly. That is future-oriented behavior. Someone who is planning to end their life, they typically narrow their focus. Ashley was expanding hers. She was building a roadmap for a life without Adam.
That search history, for me, it just destroys the distraught narrative. Being angry isn't being suicidal. Being strategic is not being irrational.
And that's a dangerous distinction for Adam, because a wife who is researching custody and finance is a wife who's about to take half of everything.
Right.
It moves the needle from emotional tragedy to calculated elimination.
Which brings us squarely to motive. We asked earlier why a school admin would do this, and the prosecution's argument wasn't that he just snapped, it was that he did the math.
It's that fatal facade concept again. Prosecution argued that Adam saw the writing on the wall. Ashley was leaving. That means the affair comes out. The divorce is public.
He loses standing in the district. He loses assets.
So he looked at two futures. Future A, divorced, broke, embarrassed.
And future B,
The grieving widower. In Future B, he keeps the house, he keeps the kids, he keeps the pension, and he gets sympathy instead of judgment.
That is incredibly cold. You're describing a murder committed for, what, reputation management?
Status preservation. It's a powerful motive. For some people, the loss of status feels equivalent to death, so they choose to inflict death on someone else to avoid it.
So eventually the state builds this case. They have the rifle, the clean hands, the pristine door, the search history. Adam Fallis is charged with first-degree murder. The trial must have been intense.
Oh, it was a clash of two realities. The defense stuck to the original story. They had no choice. They leaned into the emotion, the tragedy, the you can't know what happens in a marriage angle.
And the prosecution.
They just kept pointing to the science. They basically told the jury, you can believe the story this man is telling you, or you can believe the laws of physics.
They stripped away the personality and just looked at the mechanics.
Which is exactly what a jury is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And in the end, the mechanics won. Adam Fallis was found guilty of first-degree murder.
Life without parole.
Decades behind bars.
It's a win for the justice system, but man, looking at the sources, the community was devastated.
Well, it shattered that illusion of safety we talked about at the beginning. You have parents who trusted this man, colleagues who worked with him. To find out this pillar of the community was capable of executing his wife and then lying about it.
Yeah, that leaves a mark.
It really validates the mission of this deep dive. You can't just look at the surface. You can't just trust the job title. No. Trust is good, but verification is better. And in criminal investigations, verification looks like ballistics reports and digital timestamps.
I want to leave you with a thought that kept nagging me while we were prepping this. We're sitting here saying, the system worked, the science caught him.
And it did.
It did, but it caught him because the rifle was too long. It caught him because he didn't stage the door well enough.
It's the what-if scenario that keeps investigators up at night.
Exactly. What if he had used a handgun? What if the geometry of the shot had been just a little bit easier to explain?
If he had used a weapon that fit her hand and reached the trigger naturally, we might be telling a very different story. Or no story at all.
He might just be a widower living in Evans, Colorado right now. That is a terrifying reality check. It makes you wonder how many suicides behind closed doors are just murders committed by people who chose the right tool.
It's a dark thought, but it underlines why forensic science is so vital. We can't rely on the narrative provided by the survivor. We have to let the evidence speak for the dead.
Ashley Fallis was planning a new life. She didn't get to live it, but at least the truth of her end wasn't rewritten by the person who took it from her.
And that's the most we can hope for in a case like this. The truth finally winning out.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. It was a heavy one, but the details matter.
They always do. Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you on the next one. Stay curious.